Let's read part 4 of Premchand's story, A Coward, and analyze it. So, first paragraph reads, One day, 6 months later, Prema's father came home and called Bridda, his wife, for a private talk. If you remember section 3, toward the end of the section 3, Prema's father said that Prema would not be going to college from that day because Prema's father thinks that education has taught her to disregard the traditions. And he says that such education is wicked. And then her father asks Prema to forget about the exams. Now, section 4 opens after 6 months. In between section 3 and section 4, 6 months time has passed. And though in section 3 we see Prema in conversation with her mother, but her name was not mentioned in section 3. Now in section 4, for the first time, we know the name of Prema's mother. Her name is Bridda. And Bridda is a Sanskrit word which means an old lady. So Prema's father calls his wife, Prema's mother, for a private talk. That means we can guess that something serious is going to happen here now. Now let's see the dialogue. As far as I know, he said, Kesav is a well brought up and brilliant boy. I am afraid that Prema is grieving to the point where she might take her life. Now, in this sentence, we come to understand that for the last 6 months, which are not described in the story, there is a gap of 6 months between section 3 and 4. In these 6 months, Prema has not been very well. She has been grieving. She has been suffering. And now she has been grieving so seriously that her father thinks that she may even take her life or commit suicide. In literature, there is something called as foreshadowing. Foreshadowing is a tool in literature where writers hint their readers about an upcoming event. If you have read the whole story, you know that in the last section we see Prema dead, and we can guess that Prema committed suicide. Now, here in section 4, Prema's father says that she may commit suicide, and towards end, we find that she really commits suicide. Okay, let's read. You and I have tried to explain and so have others, but nobody has had the slightest effect on her. Now, see, this sentence tells what happened in the gap between section 3 and 4, the last 6 months, which are not directly described in the story. So we see that the father tried to convince Prema to separate from Kesav. Mother tried to convince Prema not to go ahead with this intercaste love affair, and so many other Probably their relatives have tried to convince Prema to discontinue this affair, but their counseling has had no effect on her. Then the father says, "What are we going to do about it now?" This means Prema's parents have applied every measure to dissuade Prema from this intercaste love affair, but Prema did not listen to anybody. Read ahead. Anxiously, his wife said, "Let her, but if she has her way, how can you face the dishonor?" In section, I guess it was in section 3, I think. Yes, here, as you can see on the screen, where we read the word disgrace for the first time, right? Where we read how Prema's father could not imagine any disgrace greater than going beyond their community for marriage, right? Because in section 3 we read the conversation between Prema and Prema's father, where her father brings a proposal for Prema and Prema rejects, and she shows Keshav's photograph to father. So we read the word disgrace toward the end of section 3. Now in section 4, here we have the word dishonor. So in your note copy under the heading of theme, please add this theme. This story has the theme of disgrace and dishonor. In South Asian societies, particularly in Pakistan and many Muslim societies, you may have heard about a term called honor killing. Parents kill their children simply because the decisions taken by their children are perceived as inviting disgrace and dishonor to the family. As a result, in the name of protecting their family honor, the family kills their own child, a heinous crime. So here we read here where his wife says, Briddha says, let her commit suicide. Look, when father said Prema is grieving to the point where she might take her life. When father says that Prema may commit suicide, mother says let her commit suicide. Can you see how rigid the mother is? But if she has her way, how can you face the dishonor? If she has her way means if she marries that Brahmin boy out of our community, if she decides to go with this intercaste love affair, how can you face the dishonor? Now understand this word. How can you face the dishonor? What is dishonor? This is the shame that will be caused in the society, because if Prema marries a Brahmin boy, then uh, Prema's father's relatives will talk about this marriage, and they will say all the bad things about Prema's family. This will bring this will bring insult to Prema's parents. That's what dishonor is about. Then he says, how could I ever have born a wicked girl like that? I wish I could read the Hindi version, because Premchand wrote this story originally in Hindi and it was translated, right? How could I ever have born a wicked girl like that? When Prema's mother comes to know that Prema is in love with a boy from another caste, Prema's mother calls Prema a wicked girl, a bad girl. He frowned and said with a tone of reproach, I have heard that 1,000 times. Now, Prema's father is not happy when Prema's mother Briddha says, how could I ever have born a wicked girl like that? When Briddha, Prema's mother, calls Prema a wicked girl, then Prema's father is not happy with this name calling, right? And he says, I have heard that word wicked girl 1,000 times. But just how long can we moan about this caste tradition business? This dialogue is very important because you see here, you understand that Prema's father is a bit liberal. He is not as die-hard as Prema's mother. He is not as die-hard as Kesav's father. Prema's father is liberal and he is ready to change. Actually, he's changing by now. Look what he says. How long can we moan about this caste tradition business? This means Prema's father is saying that we should discontinue such a tradition. Further, you are mistaken if you think the bird is going to stay hopping at home once it has spread its wings. Very metaphorical sentence, very literary expression, very meaningful, right? When you have birds in the nest and when their wings grow, a time comes when they start flying. And you cannot expect the grown up birds to stay in the nest with their parents. They will fly away and they will find their own partners and they will settle their own life. So you can't force your children to follow your ways, right? You are mistaken if you think the bird is going to stay hopping at home once it has spread its wings. So, spreading its wings means reaching youth. I have thought about the problem objectively, and I have come to the conclusion that we are obliged to face the emergency. So now Prema's father is working very judiciously, very wisely, and he says that he has calculated the pros and cons of the issue, and then he says that he has come to the conclusion that we must face the emergency, we cannot ignore it. I can't watch Prema die in the name of caste rules. Underline this line and note down this very important line. This is a very clear line where you see that Prema's father is ready to agree to Prema's intercaste love affair proposal. I can't watch Prema die in the name of caste rules. Let people laugh, but the time is not far off when all these old restrictions will be broken. Do you realize one thing at this point? Though Prema's father does not like caste system, though Prema's father does not want to make her daughter cry, Prema's father is willing to allow Prema to marry the boy of her choice. But do you see, the problem is about disgrace and dishonor. And do you understand that this disgrace and dishonor is caused by the society? So, do you see one point note down under the heading conflict in your note copy? Here is another conflict. This is this conflict between individual and the society. Individual and the society. Prema wants to marry Kesav, a Brahmin boy, and the society does not approve this intercaste marriage. Even Prema's father wants to allow Prema to go ahead with this intercaste marriage, but the society will bring dishonor and disgrace. Therefore, Prema's father is not able to garner enough courage to allow Prema to go ahead with this intercaste marriage. So he says, let people laugh, but the time is not far off when all these old restrictions will be broken. Even today, there have been hundreds of marriages outside the caste limitations. He says that even these days in 1930s, the time, there are people who are having intercaste marriages. If the aim of marriage is a happy life for a man and a woman together, we can't oppose prema. So If Prema finds happiness in a Brahmin boy, then society should allow her, right? So again, read it. If the aim of marriage is happy life for a man and a woman, then we should allow them to marry that fellow whom they love. So if Prema loves Kesav, Prema will find happiness only in Kesav. If Kesav loves Prema, Kesav will find happiness only in Prema. So society should allow both of them to get married. Move ahead. Now, when Britta heard this thing, look how she reacts. Britta was angry. If that is your intention, then why ask me? Now the mother is angry because the mother doesn't agree. If that's your intention, if you want to allow your daughter to marry intercaste, why you're asking me? She said, but I say that I won't have anything to do with this intercaste marriage, and I will never look at that girl's face again. I will consider her as dead as our sons who died. Look how strict, how rigid the mother is. She says that I will rather have her dead than attending her marriage. Move ahead. Well, then what else can you suggest? The father says, if you if you do not allow this intercaste marriage, then give an option. What's the option? What do you suggest? Read ahead. What if we do let her marry this boy? He will take his civil service examinations in 2 years, and with what he has to offer, it will be a great deal if he becomes a clerk in some office. Now, this line is not very clear to me. Maybe I guess Prema's mother is talking about some another boy from their community. Okay, so we see three boys here. One boy that Prema's father proposed, one boy Kesav himself. Now we see a third boy whom Prema's mother proposes. Read again. What if we do later marry this boy? He will take his civil service examinations in 2 years, and with what he has to offer, it will be a great deal if he becomes a clerk in some office. This is what Prema's mother says, and I'm not clear about what this boy refers. If you understand, help me, let me know. Okay, move ahead. But what if Prema should kill herself? Now, father says, if you don't allow Prema to marry Kesav, and if you force Prema to marry somebody other than Kesav, and if Prema commits suicide, what shall we do? Do you see? This is the second time where Prema's father says that she might kill herself. Before this, also, if you remember, before this, also, Prema's father said that she is crying so much, she is weeping so much that she may take her life. Let me show here line. Let me show the line here. Here is the line. Mm, yes, here. She might take her life. Prema's father says she is so seriously grieving that she might take her life. Again, here we read where father says that what if Prema should kill herself? Second time. And I told you that in literature there is a technique called foreshadowing. Foreshadowing is a technique in which writers hint indirectly about the tragedy that is impending in the story. If you have read the whole story, you know that Prema commits suicide in the last section. Then let her, then later, you have encouraged her, haven't you? If she does not care about us, why should we blacken our name for her? Look, if she does not care about us, why should we blacken our name for her? Look what this mother says. Again, Earlier also the mother said, let her commit suicide. Now also the mother says, let her commit suicide. And she says, you have encouraged her to be so, what do you call, mm, I didn't get the word. So let's say, so free in a sense. If she does not care about our honor, why should we care about her life? That sense. Look what the mother says. Why should we blacken our name for her? See this, read this line again. Why should we blacken our name for her? हम उसके लिए अपने नाम पे कालिख क्यों पुतवाएं? दिस हिंदी. हम उसके लिए अपने नाम पे कालिख क्यों पुतवाएं? Why should we blacken our name for her? Anyway, suicide is no game. It's only a threat. The young heart is like a wild horse. Until it's broken and bridled, nobody can touch it. If her heart stays like that, it should, there is a spelling error, let me correct it. If her heart stays like that, who is to say that she will look after Keshav for a whole lifetime? The way she is in love with him today, well, she can be in love with somebody else just as much tomorrow. And because of this, you are ready to be disgraced. Who says this? Mother, right? Okay. Her husband gave her a questioning look. Now, husband says, and if tomorrow she should go and marry Keshav, then what will you do? Then how much of your honor will be left? Out of shyness or consideration for us, she may not have done anything yet, but if she decides to be stubborn, there is nothing you or I can do, Prema's father says. It had never occurred to Britta that the problem could have such a dreadful ending. Now, here, when father says that, when father says that, just imagine that our daughter tomorrow runs away from home and marries Keshav anyhow, then what will you do about the honor? You cannot you cannot put her in jail inside her home, right? What will you do? Now it strikes Prema's mind. And look what she says. His meaning struck her with the violence of a bullet. Metaphor. She sat silent for a moment as though the shock had scattered her wits. Then, backing down, she said, what wild ideas you have. Until today, I have never heard of a decent girl marrying according to her own wish. Look, the traditional thinking. Prema's mother says, if a girl marries according to her own choice and wish, she is not a decent girl. You may not have heard of it, but I have. I have seen it, and it's entirely possible. Rema's father says that he has heard many girls who have married according to their own wish. Now, mother says, the day it happens will be my last. Look, his mother says, the day my daughter marries according to her wish, according to her choice, that will be my last. Do you see this story? In the beginning, Keshav says, if you don't marry, I will commit suicide. Then Prema's father says she might commit suicide. Now Prema's mother says, I will commit suicide if she marries that way. Okay, let's read. But if it has to be this way, isn't it preferable that we make the proper arrangements? Now, I think it is father's dialogue. Then he says, if anyhow, if anyways he's going to marry Keshav, why not manage it? Okay, then if we are to be disgraced, we may as well be efficient about it. Send for Keshav tomorrow and see what he has to say. Now, mother says, okay, if anyhow we are going to be disgraced, whether you agree or not, if Prema is going to marry that boy, let's manage it and send for Keshav and talk about it. So by the end of section 4, what do you see? In the beginning of section 4, you saw Prema's father is liberal. He is willing to change his attitude. But Prema's mother in the beginning is very hard. and she is not willing to change her decision. But toward the end of the story, when Prema's father tells Prema's mother that even if he say no to her, what if she runs away and marries Keshav? What will happen about your honor? Then Prema's mother changes her mind and she says, okay, then send for Keshav and let's talk about it. It is the end of section uh, 4. So in section 4, the scene takes place at Prema's home. The characters are Prema's mother and Prema's father. The time is 6 months later. Prema has not been going to college. She has been crying, and now when they could not convince Prema to forget Keshav even after the counseling for 6 months, now Prema's father and mother have private talk, and now they decide to call Keshav and manage this love affair in a positive way. I stop here for section 5 analysis. Watch the next video.